Hello, welcome to another video, and today this is a very quick one because I'm going to follow this up with a much longer video that will go into a lot more detail about exercises for when a female's pregnant. But just to give you an example of 3 exercises that I would pretty much use all of them all the time, just depending on who I have in front of me, but and their current ability and that. But generally, one of these 3 or all of these 3 exercises I'm going to be using with a pregnant girl. All right, and I'm going to explain to you why. Now I'm going to start firstly with the hardest of them, and this is the Sumo Deadlift. So there's several reasons why I like this one, and why I prefer it over a typical standard deadlift. All right, so firstly, with the deadlift, a great exercise for building strength into the glutes. All right, so everyone knows there's a lot about the glutes, so in this position here it's perfect, so we're keeping this anterior tilt, so a nice lumbar curve, so the back's protected from injury. The core is really on the job big time. All right, so this is where I don't really need isolating abdominal exercises if I'm doing really big powerful ones like this anyway, because in order for me to do this, the abdominal, especially the deep abdominals, the TVA, the pelvic floor diaphragm, multifidus, all of these guys are on the job to make sure that lumbar spine doesn't buckle and pop, where we see all the problems with herniated discs and hip problems as well. All right, so this exercise is excellent for that reason. So now also this particular one, the sumo one, and the reason why I prefer this, and I said there's a few reasons for it. Firstly, pregnant girls are usually going to have quite a big belly towards the end, so the belly gets in the way of the hip getting into flexion. So with the legs in a narrow stance, it gets awkward, it gets difficult. Right, so that's the first reason. The second reason is actually this wide stance is actually very good for the position of childbirth, where the pelvis is opened right out with great flexibility, and there's a real big chance of them losing stability of the hip and pelvis. And this is where people I've seen after childbirth who won't help because they have these huge problems through the hip and pelvis region, giving them back pain or just extreme hip pain. This exercise is a great way to counter that, because you're learning to control the pelvis with the stability and strength in that very position. So if I took it right back to the beginning, and you see Kim in that quite wide stance there, so the feet are turned out, and she's learning how to control strength through all of the muscles responsible, not just the TVA, where I see so many people just focus only on the TVA, all right, where there's so many more muscles involved in creating stability for all of those joints. Now the other thing too is to consider, I use this exercise a lot with people with extension related back pain. So people with sacroiliac joint pain, and where they excessively extend, so they don't have a herniated disc but they block facet joints, have a real problem at getting the glutes to turn on. This exercise is actually a really good one that I use for those people. Now when a pregnant girl has got that excessive weight, and it's quite common for them to excessively arch their back because of the weight pulling them down through their bigger belly. That's unnatural, and to be honest, a lot of females might have too much lordosis to begin with anyway. Now they're going to have even more, so they're really going to be feeling like their facet joints are locked up all the time. They can't get into an abdominal crunch, and you wouldn't want them to anyway. So this exercise is a great way to actually learn how to control that, so that they can when they're setting up in this position here, you're teaching them how to engage all their abdominals to create that brace feeling around the abdominals, just like I do for anyone with back pain. All right, just that this position is just so unique, really beautiful for a female to do it. Now, the only time I wouldn't do that is if they've never done any strength training prior to being pregnant, and they want to come to me in their first trimester and they want to start. I probably still could do deadlifts, but I wouldn't do them with big load like that. It'd be more stabilizing and just grooving the movement. It's not wise to actually start a training program if you've never been doing anything. All right, so which I'll cover all that off in a follow-up video to this, but that's the first one that my go-to exercise for the people who've been doing stuff. The second one is this toe touch drill with a moving pelvis. So And basically we're trying to improve stability on the stance leg while the pelvis is on the move and opening up. So you can see how Kim's sort of rotating to the side, and especially on these backward ones. The front ones are very much the simple, just basic stance leg, controlling again the pelvis from laterally tilting. Again, glutes are on the job. Probably we also see foot stability involved here. But this opening up of the pelvis there, this is where that left leg in this case is really having to control everything while the other leg is opened right out. This leg here has to really control everything that's going on with this pelvis while the other side's being primarily tasked with being mobile to reach away. Alright, so this is an excellent drill, and again I use this a lot with pelvic problems, hip problems. So piriformis syndrome is a great one for the people to learn that. Also with knee injury, so you can see how the things that I use with injury have a real relationship to the pregnant person who we know is going to be exposed to instability and problems through the hip and pelvic region if they don't understand how to control it. Now lastly is a simple one. This is again a great one I use with back pain, and it's just basic abdominal control and learning hip control at the same time in an unstable environment. You don't really have to annihilate the abs, you're just trying to learn how to control the extension of the, it's just what I'm looking for here is if there's too much arching when they kick their leg out behind them. So we don't want to see the leg coming right up here, by the way, just kicking out behind them as Kim's doing like that. This is a really basic version of trying to learn how to get that stability and control through the abdominal wall so that they don't excessively arch. They've got a little bit of glute control, glute strengthening here. It's not enough in comparison to the previous two exercises, but it's a step down, and it's a great one for the person to learn good control. So in combination with those, and obviously many other exercises that I may use as well, this is an excellent choice on keeping really good pelvic control, core control, so that they don't have experience problems after the pregnancy, which is quite common if they don't do anything to look after themselves. So I hope you enjoy that video. It gives you a bit of an idea of how you would structure things together. Obviously everyone's different, so I can't give you I would do this all the time, but I would say probably 90% of the time I would end up using all three of these exercises. How hard I make them for each girl I see will vary significantly. So, but yeah, if they're used wisely and you're not training for fitness, you're just training for good control. No different to injury. You're not training. Fitness is irrelevant. Weight loss is irrelevant. I'm just training for good motor control, stability and strength of the joints. All right, and then afterwards they can get bounced back into good shape fairly quickly and have no pain and incontinence and things like that. All right, so yeah, stay tuned for another follow-up video where I'll go a bit more in detail into all of the things relating to pregnancy, but this will give you just a bit of an idea of where to start. All right, I'll see you in the next video.